Child workers found throughout Hyundai-Kia supply chain in Alabama. Oh shit. Didn't I get in trouble for making an analogy on this one before? At least 4 major suppliers of Hyundai, Motor Co. and sister Kia Core have employed child labor at Alabama factories in the United States. Normally this stuff is happening in like Indonesia or something. We're bringing them home, lads. Trump said we're going to bring manufacturing home, and he meant it. We can look forward to a lot more of this if conservatives take power, by the way. They fucking love child labor. Matt Walsh has done long, like, libertarian car rants about how we're denying people freedom by not allowing 13-year-olds to work. Plant owned, a 14-year-old Guatemalan girl worked this May assembling auto body components, according to interviews with her father and law enforcement officials. At plants owned by Korean auto parts maker Edge Industrial Company, the East Alabama town of Cuseta, a former production engineer told Reuters he worked with at least 10 minors. Cool. And 6 other ex-employees of agents said they, too, worked alongside multiple underage laborers. In 2 separate statements in the same PR firm, Vaush and agents said their policies forbid hiring any worker not of legally employable age. Using identical language, both companies said they hadn't, to the best of our knowledge, hired underage workers. The news follows a Reuters report in July that revealed the use of child workers, one as young as 12. Dude, what are you doing with a 12-year-old in a fucking auto plant? Literally, what are you doing? What possible fucking work could a 12-year-old be doing in a fucking auto plant? What, are you just like sending them into like their tiny little hands to fix shit? Only a 13-year-old in this factory in Alexander City. Since then, as many as 10 Alabama plants that supply parts have been investigated for child labor. God damn. I like the zooming car. It's very funny to me. I love the car zoomy. Also, what a blighted fucking place. Jesus Christ. Is this the town in Pathologic? Look at this. This place looks incredibly cursed. Every single person who didn't say shit is culpable. Every single one of them is morally accountable. Yeah, 100%. The only reason stuff like this happens is because you don't have like a corporate culture where people immediately report that shit. If you're ever on the job and you see next to you a 13-year-old is working, you fucking call up any number of local or national, labor and work boards. And probably Google what the best one to call in your area would be. The discovery of child labor at additional plants in Hyundai's American supply chain could deal a fresh reputational blow to a company whose fast growth and popularity in recent years has led to it being the 3rd largest automaker by U.S. sales. Jesus. The use of third-party staffing agencies is a common practice among manufacturers and other labor-intensive sectors throughout the United States. This is always how they do it. They do it like this everywhere in the world. Basically, like gigantic Western conglomerates need their shit produced, and they have it produced all over the world. You know, if you're making cars or Coca-Cola or whatever the fuck else, like, you've got plants all over the place. It takes a lot of people to make an iPhone. And, you know, obviously the way this works, it's all like low bid shit, you know. Basically, like, you have Apple, right? Okay, Apple's at the top here. I'm going to draw a little apple there. I drew a little apple. That's cute. Wait, I'm going to draw a little gleam. There we go. That's very cute. Okay, you've got a little apple up there, right? Now, if you want to make an iPhone, you need like an ungodly amount of labor and material manufacturing and everything else. That's like how old iPhones looked, I guess. I guess modern iPhones just have like a little dip down here. No more manual buttons, Sag. Draw a worm coming out of it. Add a bite mark. No. Shh. Don't make this take longer than it has to, okay? Anyway, in order to make an iPhone, you need to you need an ungodly amount of work being done, okay? Now, Apple cannot single-handedly own every level of the supply process, right? Like, own every single mining and farming company that produces and gathers the materials, and then they get refined, and then they get sent over to the factory, and then they get constructed, and then they get assembled and all that crap. Apple can't own all of that. I believe when they do own all of that, it's called vertical integration, where you make an effort to own every single step along the supply chain, so all of it is done in-house. But there's a reason why companies don't do that, okay? Apple might be at the very top of this system, but they benefit from costs being cut all the way down at the bottom. Now, the easiest way to cut costs is with slavery. Tried and true tactic. Now, if Apple engaged in vertical integration, that means that they would own the factories that are using slave labor. Uh, that's a big legal no-no. That's not good, okay? So instead, what you do is you create an obfuscating wall of plausible deniability by making sure that all of the incredibly sussy shit is being done behind several barriers of, to the best of our knowledge, that's not happening, you know? So Apple might deal directly with some of these levels of vertical integration, but for other ones, they have third-party hiring companies that do this, to do that, to do this, to do that, and then eventually you make your way down to the bottom. So when inevitably, some child slave labor gets found, and U.S. investigators, start knocking on doors to ask what's going on, Apple gets to point at these guys, who get to point at these guys, who get to point at these guys, and of course, it never makes its way back up here. But they know. They always know. You should always assume that whenever stuff like this is found out, the top level corporation was aware of it. There's no reason not to. They might not be legally aware of it, but I think they're aware. The use of third-party staffing agencies is a common practice among manufacturers and other labor-intensive sectors throughout the U.S. The tactic has long been criticized by labor activists because it gives factory owners and other employers the ability to outsource responsibility for the screening, hiring, and regulatory compliance of their workforces. And there you go. Earlier this year, Reuters showed how staffing agencies in rural Alabama recruited undocumented workers from Central America, including minors who had entered the U.S. without parents or guardians, and supplied them to chicken processing plants. As with those minors, at least some of the children who worked at Hyundai suppliers used false identities and documentation obtained through black market brokers, sometimes with the help of staffing firms themselves. Understand how child labor took root in the supply chain is one of the world's most... Reuters interviewed more than 100 current and former factory workers and managers. Damn, they really went for it, huh? Now this is real child grooming? It is. It's also, as far as I'm concerned, slavery. If these black market dealers are providing them fake documentation to work, they're essentially in a situation where they have literally no alternatives but to continue working there, even if they're paid for their work, and they're paid meager wages. They're children who are held coercively. They can't meaningfully consent to this situation to begin with, but adding on the fact that if they don't work, at best, they like fucking starve to death. It's like the Qatar slavery system. Yeah, where they take away the passports. It's basically the same situation. Yeah, threat of deportation. The U.S. Labor Department, in a court filing, said SL Alabama had repeatedly violated the law by employing oppressive child labor. It fined the company about $30,000. I love that. That's fantastic. I love that. 30,000. Dude, 30,000? That's so much. That's like a new car. Wow, these really are very bleak photos, aren't they? We have another zoomy car over here. See? It is zooming. A teenage cousin who worked at the factory with the brothers said no one at SL ever verified workers' ages. They didn't ask any questions, the cousin said. Yeah, of course not, because they knew they were using children, and if they asked explicitly, it would be on the books. You should probably explicitly state $30,000 is nothing for the sarcastically deaf. Yes, just to be clear, $30,000 is nothing. We're taking a look at the subsidiaries. Authorities first caught wind of child labor among automotive suppliers in early 2021. A school official in Alabama's rural Butler County told state officials some children, including one immigrant girl around 12 years old, appear to be working at Vaush, the parts maker in Greenville. The manufacturer, which builds metallic body parts in a factory the size of 4 football fields, is now the biggest employer in a town once better known for cotton farming. There we go. Right on the money. Even as authorities were investigating, a 14-year-old migrant was recruited to factory Fort Washington. The girl's father said he and his daughter arrived in Alabama 4 years earlier after a long trek from Guatemala. The teen looks younger than her age. On a visit to their home, a small house shared with other migrants south of Greenville, Reuters met the girl, who was just over 4 feet tall, with rosy cheeks and a timid smile. Early this year, the father had been working poultry jobs. Troubled by the family's meager income and hoping to send money to family back in Central America, the girl, who wasn't attending school, asked her father if she too could get a job, he said. He agreed. I wish I had said no. As with many staffing firms, the ownership structure of JSS isn't entirely clear in public records. That's interesting. In a country with extremely extensive legal bureaucracy, that we would not have a clear ownership structure, almost as though they knew they were doing illegal shit the entire time and didn't want to have it pinned on anyone. When the Guatemalan girl's father contacted the recruiter, he said he asked whether his daughter's age would be an issue. No, the recruiter told him. On the black market, the girl's father procured a fake ID, seen by Reuters, that says she is an 18-year-old California resident. The name and picture on the card are the daughter's, but the birth year is phony. By May, the father said he and his daughter were both working at Hanshin, each earning about $11 an hour. If you're paying above the federal minimum wage, why would you not just hire adults? You could pay an adult 11 an hour. What is the point of this? Is it literally just because no, I mean, again, like literally just because they're evil. Yeah, okay, yeah, just literally like, oh yeah, we could hire an adult who could do more work for the same pay, but it would be more evil. The Hitler particles within me are telling me it would be more evil for us to instead hire a child to do the same work, less work even, for the same pay. Phenomenal. By the way, the economic situation here and all of this is a direct product of the fact that we do not give these immigrants a path towards citizenship. The fact that they live on the margins of society is the reason why they are abused in this fashion. They said that this girl wasn't even going to school prior to her being hired, even though she was of high school age. Probably, let's be real, barely literate if she hasn't been going to school but's been in America for 4 years. That's disgusting. It leads to a lot of sexual abuse. It leads to a lot of trafficking. It leads to a lot of slavery. And all of it could be prevented if we just opened up a path to citizenship. If we opened up a path to citizenship, millions and millions and millions of people would suddenly have the ability to directly and officially make contact with the U.S. government and be given the ability to seek help in situations where they're being victimized. Literally, all of these photos look so fucking blighted. It's like the universe itself is distorting reality around the child labor.